All right, guys, happy Friday. I want to get a couple more pages in our book here. The ocean currents which held the canoe in its grip seemed to have quickened. There was a wind rising too, a little puffs and gusts. Now the canoe heeled over under the sudden attack, while Mufasa scrambled onto the outrigger to lend his weight for a ballast. That means to balance things. Then the wind dropped as suddenly as it appeared. While the canoe righted itself and the boy breathed freely once again, he searched the skies for Kibi. His albatross might have been one of the 1,000 seabirds flying against the roof of the sky, or he might have vanished utterly, leaving his friend here in solitary space. The bird had led Mufasa out through the reef passage at Haikura into the open ocean, and now, it seemed, had deserted him. A storm was moving in and out of those mysterious belts which lie north and south of the equator, the home of hurricanes. The wind shifted a point, bringing with it a heavy squall. Mufasa lowered the sail on the run and gripped the steering paddle with hands that showed white at the knuckles. All around him now was a world of trembling water, gray in the hollows, greenish in the slopes. The wind tore off the combing crest and flung the spray in the sky. Like advanced scouts of an oncoming army, wind gusts moved down upon the canoe, struck at it savagely. So busy was Mufasa with the paddle that there was no time for thought. He called a prayer to Maui, god of the fishermen. Maui e mate tu. Now, I'm not sure I pronounced that right. I did my best. Somehow, the sound of his own voice reassured him. Yuri lifted his head. He cocked his ears, thumped his tail for a second. The canoe rose in the swells as lightly as a gull and coasted like a sled down the frothing slope. What skill had wrought this small canoe, this dugout, hewed from a mighty temu tree? It swooped and yelled, backed and scuttled, one with the fierce elements whose back it rode. The sky darkened. A burst of lightning lit up the sky with supernatural brilliance. An instantaneous crack of thunder shattered the world. Lightning again striking at the hissing water. Mufasa watched it with fascinating eyes. Now it was all about him. It ran to the ends of the boom. It in globs of fire that exploded and vanished, and in the awful moment of being, it revealed mountain shapes of dark water heaving and shouldering. How long could this frail craft of wood and sennit resist? Under the combined attack of the wind and the sea, it seemed that something must inevitably give way. The wind shrills a fierce note. Spraying stung the boy's flesh, blinded his eyes, chilled his marrow. Now, the spray would really blind his eyes because it was salt water, and if you get salt in your eyes, it would sting very much. The sail went first, with a splinter and a roar. Fragments swept off the back of the wind. The cords that held the mast hummed like plucked wires. Then, with a rending groan, the mast cracked. Before Mufasa could leap to cut it clear, it snapped off and disappeared in the churn of black water. The boy clung to the paddle, fighting to keep his canoe from turning broadside. Water swept aboard and out again. Only the buoyancy of the temu kept the craft afloat. Yuri cowered in the bow, half submerged, his howls drowned by the roar of the elements. Mufasa gripped his paddle for very life. An unreasoning terror powered his arms. This sea that he had always feared was rising to claim him, just as it had claimed his mother. How mighty he had feared it. Moana, the sea god, had been biding his time. Someday, Mufasa, I will claim you. Now, there's a lot of book left, so I predict that Mufasa doesn't die in the storm. But right now, it seems like he might. He lost his mast. That was the part that held the sail up. So he can't use the wind to push the boat anymore. And the waves are coming big and strong, and they're filling up his little boat. His dog's sitting there in water, moaning and barking. And, well, Let's see what happens, but we'll have to wait until Monday.